Hello, thank you for watching today. My name's Sarah and my channel is called Your True Shelf, and today I'm filming my wrap up for October, which was only 3 books because one of them was so long. So as you probably know, it was Victober in October as well. I didn't want to read just Victorian fiction because I quite like to read diversely each month, so I don't like reading lots of the same kind of books one after the other. So I only read 1 book for Victober, but I still count that as having taken part. So the first book that I read this month I have taken back to the library now, so I can't hold it up, but it was called A Secret Garden by Katie Ford. This is kind of romantic fiction. I don't know if it fits into that genre, but Katie Ford has written lots of books and they're all in that kind of genre, and her writing is really dear to me because it's something which is easy to read, very readable, very cheerful. It makes you feel like it makes you appreciate like the good in life. So it's not highbrow, it's not literary, but I don't feel like I just need to read literary highbrow fiction. So I know some people can be a bit snobbish about romantic fiction or rom-com fiction, but for me, she has good storylines and lovely characters, and the books are quite pacey and I always want to keep going, and they always cheer me up. So if I've had a hard day or I'm stressed, I can't wait to get back to it, and it really is escapism for me. So that is the first book I read. It's basically about forgive me, I can't remember the character's name. Oh dear. Never mind. It's about a girl who's kind of in her early 20s who leaves Ireland with her grandfather, and they come and live in England together, and they live in a cottage, and the grandfather is retired and the young lady is she is a gardener and she sells plants on a market stall to make her living. There's a stately home, which there inevitably is in Katie Ford's work, which is owned by a man, and his friend is the gardener for the grounds, and the young girl and his friend start doing the garden there together, and it's about the sort of the relationships that form and the businesses that grow, and about gardening and about the magic of landscape and gardens, obviously with some romances thrown in as well, and I really enjoyed it. So the second book that I read was Jane Eyre, this beautiful cloth-bound classics edition that my friend Shona bought for me. Jane Eyre was obviously by Charlotte Bronte. So what did I think of Jane Eyre? It's really difficult to know. So this book was a labour of love to me. So I remember reading some of it in secondary school. I don't think I ever read it cover to cover. I think I read bits of it in secondary school. The writing is phenomenal. So the writing is absolutely some of the best writing I've ever seen in my life. It is so intelligent, so stunning, so descriptive. You could literally pick a sentence out of the book and you could discuss it, and you could dissect it and look for meaning in it pretty much with every sentence. It is so well crafted that is absolutely, you can see why it's in the literary canon, because it is just incredible. However, it is very labour intensive. So it's 500 pages. I saw someone on Goodreads say in their review it's pretty much 400 pages out of the 500 are descriptive rather than speech or plot. It's not something that you can read while you're half concentrating or while you're doing something else. You have to give it your attention. There are parts where the plot gets going a bit and you kind of it's a bit more readable, and then it goes back to lots and lots of description and thinking again, and then it's like, I reckon each page took me 3 or 4 minutes to read. So it took me a long time to read this. I'm glad I've read it. I do think it actually made me feel a bit down. Like I was just saying, when I read Katie Ford or something like that, it really lifts me, because this is very much set in times where things were physically hard. People, emotionally, this was hard. Jane's had a really hard life, that it just, you know, there's mental illness which is dealt with really appallingly, and it just made me feel a bit dragged down mentally when I was reading it as well. So whilst there were bits that didn't make me feel like that, there definitely were bits that did. So I finished it because I didn't want to give up, but I don't think it did me any favours reading this book. So whilst I don't want to criticise the writing in any way, because the writing is phenomenal, as I said, I didn't really enjoy this hugely, and I only gave it 3 stars. 3 stars was based on my enjoyment, not on the quality of the writing. So I only rate books based on how I feel about them and my enjoyment, rather than what I feel I should rate them or any reflection on the writing. Because like I said, that's no reflection on how amazingly clever and wonderful the writing is. So that's what I have to say, and sorry if I've offended you and you're a diehard Bronte or Jane Eyre fan, but I have to be honest, I don't see any point in saying things that I don't feel are genuine. So I was looking forward after that to have another book which would draw me in and pick me up and carry me along, and I read the wonderful Nevermore, the Trials of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend, which has been all over BookTube. I've heard nothing but good praise about this book, and it has lived up to its expectations. People are comparing it to the Harry Potter series. There are definite parallels there. I don't know if it's going to hook me in and I'm going to love it as much as Harry Potter yet, because that's very big shoes to fill, and I don't think she's trying to fill those shoes. So this is about Morrigan Crow, who is a cursed child, and she is going to die on her 11th birthday, and she's always known this, and her family has always known this. Her family are quite cold and unfeeling towards her, and they don't seem to be too concerned to the fact that she's not going to be around anymore once she's 11. And then just as she is about to die, a man called Jupiter North comes into her life and wants to take her away to a place called Nevermore, where she has to complete a series of trials to see if she can become a member of the Wondrous Society. So there are 500 children who have to compete for 9 places to get into the Wondrous Society, and Morrigan is one of those 500 children. So the book is, when it started, I thought, okay, this is fine, but this isn't amazing. After I got a few pages in, and it starts to ramp up in terms of pace and plot, I was totally hooked. There were some really good twists in this book, which I wouldn't necessarily expect from this kind of age group for books. But there were bits where I was like, oh, no way, couldn't believe that just happened. And then Sam was saying, my husband, what just happened? And I was like, don't worry, it's just in my book. And then I couldn't stop. Like, I literally could have sat up till 4 a.m. reading it. Obviously I didn't, because I have to get up for work and stuff. But I never wanted to put it down. It's well written and readable. The characters are great. And I just really, really thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved the magic. I loved the elements, like there's one bit where the children will get covered in this in like splashes of coloured paint, which is really good. Christmas is lovely, how they describe Christmas. They're just like really inventive things, like where Morrigan's living when she goes to Nevermore. She's in a hotel and there's something called the smoking room. So instead of this being a room where the men go and smoke, it's basically a room where there's different scents of smoke which are emitted into the room to basically help either like calm you or help you study or help you sleep or something like that. And there's like a chandelier on the ceiling which changes shape and grows into different objects, and there are things like Morrigan's bedroom changes depending on how she's feeling and what mood she's in. So they're just some really cool ideas which I really liked, and I think this book deserves all the hype that it's been getting. The second one in the series is out, just come out now, so I'm really looking forward to getting that one from the library. I think it's going to be a series of 7, which is great, and can't wait to read the next one. So that was my quite short wrap up for October. Jane Eyre just took me probably 3 weeks out of the 4 or 5, however long the month was. So yeah, that's why I didn't only read 3. But Jane Eyre was one of the ones off my 2011 TBR, so I've done one of those, so that's good. Let me know what you've been reading and let me know what you thought of anything that you read for Victober, and I will speak to you soon. Bye!